Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna talk a bit about the PTS, the public test server, where we'll be testing, or I've been testing two things. First, the improved dispersion on the German battleships, as well as the new upcoming German special commander Günther Lütjens. Now I'm gonna start with the German dispersion. I'm gonna have a Friedrich der Große game playing in the background so you can make up your own mind about the dispersion. Now, what the patch notes say is that on German battleships, the ellipse of main caliber gun shells dispersion is adjusted to the settings of the American and British battleships. This change will increase the accuracy of all German battleships and make the playing experience more comfortable. Now, this is true, and although some people have been trying to dispel it, they're saying, oh, but if you look at the main stats, if you look at the main stat numbers in the port, the actual difference is only a couple of meters. This is actually very misleading, because what you're seeing in port when you're comparing at the numbers is the maximum radius of the hit ellipse at max radius, or at max range. So what you're seeing is the maximum radius at max range. And dispersion is a lot more complicated than just that. It's not just a cone that goes out and gets wider and all you need to do is adjust the number and everything gets changed. No, the biggest benefit for the German ships is the dispersion at mid and more importantly at short range. And that means the Germans are actually significantly more deadly now at short range, noticeably so. I came into this quite hesitantly because I was really afraid, you know, when you're looking to see improved dispersion, that's what you're going to feel and that's what you're going to see. Because you're looking for it, so you're seeing it, you know, basically bias, placebo, whatever. But in general, especially at closer ranges, mid to close ranges, the difference has been significant, and especially the Große Kurfürst has felt a lot more powerful. I do want to highlight though that they still have Große Kurfürst still has significant issues. Most importantly, Große Kurfürst still can't bring all its guns to bear on enemy targets comfortably without exposing full broadside. That's always been its issue. That's always been its main issue. You have to give a ton of broadside to be able to use all your guns, whereas the likes of Montana, for example, can remain relatively angled while still bringing its guns on target. And that's always been the issue with the Große Kurfürst. And although this makes the ship more comfortable and significantly deadlier at closer ranges, it still is an issue, and I'm not sure if this is enough of a fix. The other change is that you can now slot the Hydra module, which means that your Hydra duration is increased by 20%. And obviously, since you don't really have anything too important in this slot, because you don't need the rudder or you don't need the engine module, this is actually a pretty nice buff. I'm also running the secondary captain, by the way, in this vid, and that's because I am testing an upcoming German special commander called Günther Lütjens. Now, his special perks, or the special skills that he has, is an improved preventive maintenance, 45% reduced breaking of modules instead of 30, an improved expert marksman, and improved engine boost. You saw that he just procced his secondary armament expert talent. He also has 4 different expert talents. The one you just saw is activated if you get 100 secondary hits. And what it does is it boosts your secondary reload by 15%, which obviously on a German battleship is a pretty damn nice extra buff to get, especially if you happen to be building around secondaries. The other buff that he has is the one-time acceleration of the main armament. That's a 7.5% reload buff if you can land 140 hits. Now, obviously, this isn't really going to happen on a battleship. I don't really see it happening. 140 hits with a battleship is so incredibly rare. I don't even know if it's possible. It's probably possible, but let's just say it's incredibly rare and highly unlikely to ever proc. However, I tried it on the Hindenburg, and it was quite easy to activate and very powerful. I also tried it on the Z52, and it was moderately easy to activate on the Z52 as well. And obviously a 7.5% reload boost on both the Hindenburg and Z52 made both ships significantly more comfortable. Then it has a carrier perk, which is if you get, I think it's 30 hits with rockets, bombs, or torps, you get a 10% faster restoration of planes. Obviously, this combination makes it quite good, especially good on Graf Zeppelin. And finally, it has the fourth one, which I find to be completely useless on... It's designed for DDs. What it does is, if you get 3 spotted ribbons, meaning if you spot 3 ships, Note that it's not enough to just spot the ships, you have to get the spotting ribbon. And you can only get a spotting ribbon if the ship has not been detected for 90 seconds. So you need to spot a ship that hasn't been detected for 90 seconds in order to receive this ribbon. And if you do spot 3 of these ribbons, you get about a 3k heal. Your ship automatically heals for about 3k if you spot 3 ships. Now, in theory, this sounds like a pretty juicy idea. By the way, pay attention to this close range dispersion. This is what I was talking about, this mid to close range. Friedrich der Große and Große Kurfürst both are much more enjoyable to play at close range. Anyway, moving on. The restoration perk. The idea is that you spot 3 ships and you get this 3k heal. In reality, in practice, this basically never happens. It is incredibly hard. Most importantly, the one thing that screws you over the most is amusingly your own carrier. Because what happens at the start of a game is your own carrier flies over and spots all the ships. And then he just keeps spotting and spotting and spotting, and you really struggle to actually get any spotting ribbons. Spotting damage doesn't count. And this is something I've actually kind of trying to get Wargaming to do, is that they should change it from spotting ribbons to these instead to this spotting damage, because getting these ribbons is so completely RNG and it's so hard to work around it. Like, how can you even activate all the other things? Can be easily activated. The other things, you just play your role. If you farm with a cruiser, you get secondary hits with a battleship, and you strike with a carrier, you get all the other things. But in this DD, you're so stuck on this completely arbitrary, really hard to execute thing, which is getting spotting ribbons. It's not enough if you keep the enemy team spotted. No, in fact, you want to unspot them. You want to go behind an island and hide for 1.5 minutes, and then come out and spot them again to even activate this perk. And even then, it's only a 3k heal, which on a Z52 is obviously, well, on any ship is obviously pretty pitiful. I think it's like, it's percentage based, but on a Z52 it's about a 3k heal, which is nowhere near enough. It is painfully pitiful. So that thing is complete trash. Now, obviously that perk is probably going to be really good on a Graf Zeppelin, if you consider Graf Zeppelin gets the benefit, on Graf Zeppelin Günther Lütjens gets the benefit of having the secondary perk, and he gets the benefit of the spotting perk, and he gets the benefit of the plane perk. So Graf Zeppelin loves Günther Lütjens. But for a DD, honestly, the only thing you're going to be looking for is that reload perk, because proccing the spotting thing is nigh impossible. And hopefully they will rework this into being spotting damage based instead of being spotting ribbon based, because it's just so hard to work around, and sometimes it's completely out of your control, whereas all these other things is easily within the player's control. So overall, he seems interesting. I actually quite like him on both the Hindenburg and the Z52, and honestly on the Friedrich der Große and the Große Kurfürst if you got secondaries farming away. In fact, in the new 1 versus 1 game mode, where I've been playing both Bismarck and Prince Eugen, especially on Bismarck, it has been insanely powerful to get that 15% reload buff on the secondaries. Obviously, greatly increases your DPM. Note that this game I'm playing is kind of hilarious in the sense that because it's PTS, matchmaking is completely wonky. So in this game we have 2 tier 10 carriers. So ideally, of course, at this point of the game, I should just be playing really safe, and I should be hiding in the back and just cluster AA and blah blah blah. But it's PTS, and honestly, no one should really care too much about games being played on PTS. It's testing. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to push in and see what I can do with the secondaries on the Hakuryu, if they can actually accomplish anything on him. At this point, already 300 secondary hits, but secondary builds are a bit skittish, even with Günther. Overall, Günther is a welcome addition to the already welcome addition of improved dispersion on the German BBs. He fits them well, especially because he improves turret traverse. He is also quite nice on the Hindenburg, because the Hindenburg was somewhat recently, the DPM was buffed, and Günther improves the DPM by another 7.5% if you manage to farm 140 hits, which honestly isn't really that difficult. So he's absolutely a captain that should be someone you should get if you play German ships. Z52 does benefit, as I mentioned, but the healing benefit is, as in the current state, keep in mind, it's PTS, which means it's not finalized, but he also has potential. Overall though, I think he's absolutely going to become a captain everyone wants. anyone who plays German ships is absolutely going to want this ship, want this captain. As for German BBs, are they magically fixed and amazing now? No. No, I can't with a straight face say that. They still has massive issues with the firing angles and being forced to expose too much broadside and a huge size and all of these things. And of course, at long range, the dispersion is still, I mean, it's still trolley, and it's not as bad as German dispersion used to be, but you at no point are these guns IGM guns or anything similar, or Kremlin guns at close range. It's still German guns. Greatly improved German guns, but still German guns. So the ship line hasn't been fixed, but the ship line is absolutely much more enjoyable to play. And honestly, playing on PTS, playing these German ships on PTS, kind of reminded me of how much I enjoy this. Except, of course, when carriers are involved. Carriers are not that much fun. I started triple fire in the Hakuryu, but of course, Wargaming thinks that that ship carrying all that plain fuel should basically be immune to fire, so the fires run out in 5 seconds, and he actually doesn't die. And meanwhile, the 2 carriers drop me and kill me with torpedoes and flooding. Basically your average story in World of Warships. The game ends, 212k damage, a devastating strike, 5 citadels, a bunch of planes, a bunch of secondary hits, but overall, the dispersion gave you an idea. It's not a huge difference. And you shouldn't go into, if you go into it expecting your ships to suddenly be hugely improved, you're going to be disappointed. But especially the Große Kurfürst, and I felt the Friedrich der Große, these hard-hitting guns, they feel much more consistent. As for the captain, Günther Lütjens, he's worth getting. Absolutely worth getting and worth grinding. I don't know how they're gonna distribute him, how they're gonna give him out, but he seems to come with some really well-needed buffs. DPM for Z52 Hinden, both which they will both greatly enjoy, and secondaries for those German BB enthusiasts. Maybe not the most amazing of perks, but combined with the already improved dispersion on the main guns, honestly, the upcoming patch is looking really, really good for the Kriegsmarine. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little rundown. I will be covering the Silly Wangi soon. It's an upcoming Pan-Asian Premium DD, which I actually quite have enjoyed. And as usual, thank you if you can be bothered to subscribe to my channel. I always appreciate it a lot because, well, basically it lets me know that you're enjoying the content. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of the evening.